Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Mr. Kadim Khan and I am a lecturer in the Institute of Computing, Kuwait University of Science and Technology. Today we will take lecture number 28 of the subject of visual programming, in which we are going to discuss the graphical device interface in the C#.NET. And in this topics we will discuss the pin class. Dear students, in the previous lectures, that is lecture number 27, you have worked with the different classes and functions of the graphical device interface, that is called GDI. Now here we will discuss the pin class, and that is very much important class in the GDI concepts. This is the discussion agenda. It contains the topics of the default units of the measurements in GDI. Then we have the examples of units of measurements in the GDI, and then we have the working with the pins. Now the pins is used to draw any object on the form. So then we will also discuss the pins properties, which are very much important for drawing the objects on the form. Working with the pin caps is also very much important. Here we will discuss different caps of the pins, and the caps define the styles of the pin as well. Then we have the two different examples of the pin classes. The default unit of measure. The default unit of measures defines the screen resolution in the simple words. Here it means that what are the number of pixels that is supported by the screen or by the display. For example, we say that the screen resolutions represents the particular number of pixels that is supported through the x-axis and y-axis coordinates. So under the GDI plus, which is the extension of the simple GDI, where the GDI plus is in fact supported by the websites that is in the scripting languages like Node.js and also other technologies like in the .NET frameworks. GDI plus is used to draw more complex images and different components of the graphics. So here the default unit is based on pixels. Pixels means that the number of points that is supported through the x-axis and also supported towards the y-axis as well. Basically, the pixels represent the tiny dots that is printed on the screen. So the origin begins here, and the origins mean that 0 value of the x-axis and y-axis. And the origin is started from the upper left corner with the x-axis increasing towards the right sides from left to right, and y-axis is increasing from the top to bottom sides. So here for this screens, the origin lies something here, where is the mouse pointer now, and the x-axis will increase from the left to right side, while the y-axis will increase from the top to bottom sides. And overall, that specifies the units of measurements here. So the default coordinate of system of the GDI plus will be lies between two axes, that is x and y coordinates here. Now more pixels supported by the x and y coordinates will be the better resolutions, and if less signals are supported by the screens, that means that the video or the picture resolution will be also minor one. So that means that when the more pixels are congested with each other, so that will define a higher resolutions. This is the example of unit of measurement in the Visual Studio. So here you can see that first of all we have defined the protected override void on paint function. This function is already part of the Visual Studio, so that's why we have overridden it. Overriding means that we have just defined its body here. That is the redefinition of the body. And this is the protected function. Protected means that this function is in fact inherited from the base class, and this is only available in the child. Other classes cannot access this onPaint function for this current container. Void means that this function doesn't return anything, and onPaint is the name of this function. That means that it will paint on the surface of the form. And paint event args, and E is the object of the paint event args class. Here it defines the data that will be sent when this event will occur here. Basically, onPaint functions defines the event, and the event here is the load event of the form. So when this form will be loaded, then this function will be called, which is overridden here. Now next is the body of this function, in which there are two statements. First statement defines the G as an object of the graphics is equal to e.graphics. E.graphics means that it defines the graphics object, and e.graphics represents the graphics class accessed through the E object, while E is the parent event ArcGIS object. So then G represents the E.graphics, while G is also the instance of the graphics class. Then we will use this G, the small g, to call the different functions of the GDI. Here is the g.drawRectangle function. First parameter defined the color, also the size of the font of this line. That means that it is new pen function. Pen is basically a class, but here we are calling its constructor. So new pen color dot red comma 5. 5 specifies the thickness of this red line, and color dot red specifies the color of this rectangle. So 5 specifies the size of this rectangle in terms of the pixels. Secondly, we have defined 2 points. Point 1, which has 10, 10 are the two parameters of x-axis and y-axis, and second point is the 100, 100. It is this defined the second point with the 100, 100 parameters. Now 10, 10 means that here you can see that 10 axis, 10 point toward the x-axis and 10 points toward the y-axis. This will be the first starting point of this rectangle, 10, 10. And the last point of rectangle is this one, which is 100, 100. So 100 onwards from 10 and 100 downwards towards the y-axis from the 10 here. You can see that that is going down here. So that defines the unit of measurement, that how you will draw a particular objects using the units of measurements. Now if you run this objects or this functions, you need to escape the slides here, open your Visual Studio. Here I am going to open the Visual Studio. Click on this Visual Studio. Meanwhile, the Visual Studio will be open for you. Then you will create the new Windows application where you just need to override that protected void onPaint function. And then you need to design or to implement that code into the body of the onPaint function. Here the Visual Studio is creating the application for us. For example, I can also implement this example in the new project, but you can also use the existing project. Okay, I want to create the new projects here. So click on the create new projects here. Now meanwhile, the Visual Studio will ask from you to type the name of the projects. So here I will type that the unit of measurements project. Now change the language from general language selections to C#.NET and drag drop downs here, click on the Windows applications, click next. When you will click next, then you need to type the name of the projects here. By default it's Windows applications, Windows Form Apps 11. Click on the create button. So meanwhile, Visual Studio will create a project for you with the name of the Windows Forms Apps 11. Then you need to override the onPrint function in Visual Studio. Now Visual Studio is in fact going to create the empty form for us. So Visual Studio has created an empty form for us. So you can resize this form as well according to your choice. And now right click here on the form and click on the view code. When you will right click, then the code and click on the view code, you will see the code of this Visual Studio applications. Okay, next you need to write the function here. It is the protected. This is the protected override. This is override function. Void on print. This is the protected. Okay. Now we will write print event args e. For example, e is the print here on print. Okay. Next, we need the graphics class. So graphics, for example, g is equal to e dot graphics. Okay. Next is to draw the rectangle. G dot draw rectangle. G dot draw rectangle. You can type names, but better is to select that from here. Next is new. We will define the pen class. Pen class two different parameters. That is, first one is color. Color dot, for example, red or green or purple. For example, I will like the purple color, comma, and the size of the thickness of the color, the rectangle. That is, the size of the walls of the rectangle should be 10, and 10, comma 10 is the first point. Second point is, for example, 200, comma 200. Now our code is complete. Next, we need to compile and run this application. To compile and run, clicks on the start button here. Now to compile and run, click on the start button. Now this is the output of this rectangle. You can see that the rectangle starts from 10, 10 here. That is the code I am comparing with this output. 10, 10 is starting from n, 10, 10, and next point is 200, 200, which is here, and this defines the size of the walls of this rectangle, and color dot purple is the define the color of this rectangle. So that is the rectangle that we have printed here using the coordinate systems here. Now we will resume our slides for the next topics. Okay, so the next example is the unit of measurement. This is also another example here, and it also uses the same onPrint functions. Here we have the graphics g is equal to e dot graphics. It defines the object of the g using the graphics class, while the graphics class is accessed through the object of e, which is the object of print event ergs class. Now this print event ERGS E represents the data that will be called or provided when onPrint function is called here. While onPrint function is the void function and it doesn't return anything, and it is overridden function, means that its body is redefined, while onPrint is a built-in function. It is a protected function because are accessing onPrint function from the base class, and just we are overriding it. Next is the rectangle class. Rect is equal to new rectangle. It defines a new rectangle, and the size of rectangle is from the 530 points to 100, 100 points. So this is 30 points, 50 points from the x-axis, that is from the left to right, and 30 points from the towards the down axis. And 100, 100 defines the last point on this rectangle, which is here. Okay. Next is the linear gradient brush, I brush. Here we have defined the linear gradient brush here. I brush is equal to new linear gradient brush, and in the constructor of the linear gradient brush we have passed the rectangle comma color dot red. So that means that the rectangle color will be red here, and it's the first color is red, means that here the first point, then the first corner of the rectangles is the red, second one is the yellow, and similarly the next one is the backward diagonals. Backward diagonals means that you can see that this is the diagonal line. So when we divide that in the diagonal, so one point will be the red, one side of this color, that is the rectangle, will be the red, and another diagonal side of this diagonal will be the yellow here. Now G dot fill rectangle I brush comma rectangle. So we will print the fill rectangles using the I brush, and I brush is in fact the linear gradient brush with the two different colors, and the colors are defined in the diagonals based. That is, first diagonals will be red and second diagonals will be yellow. And this rectangle will be printed with the coordinates of 50, 30 and 100, 100 here. Now we will implement this code as well with the previous example. So for this purpose, copy this code. You can also copy from here, because already in the previous example we have defined the objects, which is here. You can just write your code here. You can see that this code is now transferred here. For the linear gradients, you also need namespace here. So namespace will be written here on the top of the form here. Now you can see that linear gradient brush displays the errors, because we also need some library for this class. So the library for this class will be written on the top of the programs. Here I am writing using system dot drawing 2D. This is the namespace of the linear gradient brush. Now you will see that this error message is now removed because we have provided the library for this point. Now run the applications. When you will run, this will be the output. You can see this is the filled rectangles with a linear gradient brush here, and that is printed here on the particular screen. You can also perform more programming for this, because you can animate this as well. So hope that you will learn how to animate this using the coordinates here. You can increase the coordinates, or you can use the certain timer as well here. When the timer will be with the tick events, this rectangle should move forward here, from here to here. Okay, and you can also provide the on mouse move events here. When the mouse will be moved, this rectangle should move here and there. So you can do interesting programming with this example as well. Now we will resume our slides for the next examples. Next is the working with pins. As you saw that Draw functions draws anything on the form. So GDI pins is a concept that you can use the pins class for writing anything on the form, as well as you can draw anything on the form using the pin class. So when you need to render a geometric shapes onto the control derived tags, you sends a valid pin tags to any number of renders methods that is defined by the graphics class here. So in general, the draw functions method is used to render any set of lines to the graphics surface that is the form layers, and you can use with the pin objects. So here can be, for example, anything like g dot draw strings, g dot draw rectangle, g dot draw lines, or g dot draw bezels, etc. So all these things will be drawn here using the pin class here, which we have already specified the new pin, and then we specified the colors inside the pin as well as the size of the pin. This is the complete description of the pins property, which are very much important here. The important properties are listed down here in this table. First one is called the brush property. The brush property determines the brush used by this pin. Second is the color properties. The color property determines the color used by the pin. Custom start caps property and customs end property. So as its name indicates, it defines the start of the cap when we start with writing or drawing with the pin. So it defines the starting styles, and similarly also define the ending styles of the cap of the pin. Dash cap. Dash cap property specifies the dashed cap of the lines that is drawn with the pin. So dash means that any certain dashes that will be used as styles with the pin. Dash patterns. The dash patterns specify different patterns that is used as a dash for this current pin. Dash styles. Dash styles specify the dash lines drawn with the pin. Start cap and end cap. It gets or sets the predefined cap styles used at the beginning or end of the lines that is drawn with the pin. So it sets the cap of the pin using the line cap are defined in the system.drawing 2D namespace here. Width. The width specifies the width size of the pin here. Dash offsets. It specifies the set or sets the distance from the start of the lines to the beginning of the dash patterns here. Now we will also check the examples here. This is the examples, and it's from here to this slides. First, we will use the override method of the print on the print functions here. Protected override void on print event argse. So on paint is a function, and this function is void types. It has nothing to returns, and override means this is overridden from the base class, while protected means that this is the protection function and it's only available in the child class, and it is in fact inherited from the base class. Now we have graphics G, which is the G object of the graphics class, and it is taken from the e.graphics class. E is the object of the print event args, which defines the data when this function or this event will be raised, then it will take the data. And the data is provided through the graphics class here, graphics G. Next, we will define the pin. So pin, blue pin, new pin. This is the pin class, and it is the blue pin method, or this is in fact the object, and new pin color.blue 20. So this defines the blue pin, and the size of the pin is 20. Next is another pin 2, pins.fire bricks. This is only the fire bricks pin, and you see that here we do not provided any sort of the size of the pin. So that is just a small with the 1 pixel size pin, that is size of 1. It is size of 20. So you can see that this is more bigger than the size of this as compared with this pin. Next, we will render some geometrical shapes with the help of these two pins. G dot draw ellipse. First we are drawing the ellipse. Blue pin comma 10 comma 10 comma 100 comma 100. So we are drawing the ellipse with the blue pen, and start is 10.10, which is 10 point towards the x-axis and 10 points towards the y-axis, and similarly 100 points towards the x-axis and 100 points towards the y-axis, and this will draw this line here. So this is the draw ellipse, which is in fact a circle. Second one is the G dot draw line pin 2, which is the 5 brick pin. Starting point is 10 comma 130, which is here. This is the starting, and 110 comma 130, which is the ending here. So between these 2 points it draw the line. Similarly, we have G dot draw pi, which is the pins comma black. So pin 2 is used here. That is, pins is used here. Pins comma black. So this is the black pin, and you can see that because it is the pi, so here we require 3 points: first point, second point, third point. So 150 comma 10 is the first point, 120 comma 150 is the second, and 90 comma 80 is the third point here. So it prints certain values using these three different points here, and it's defined the pi here. Next one is the draw purple dash polygon as well. So this is the polygon. Poly means many angles, and it depends on number of vertices you have provided here. So we will first need a pin here, pin 3, new pin, that is skull dot purple, and the size of the pin is 5. G dot draw polygon pin 3, new points. Here we have defined different points here. First point is 30 comma 140, second one is 265 comma 200, and this is the third point, 4 point, 5 point, 6 point. So there are 6 points here, 1 2 3 4 5 6. If you see its vertices, that is the 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. These are 6 different points here. So it will draw the polygon here. The next is the draw the rectangle. This is the blue small rectangle. Rectangle or new rectangle, 150 comma 10 comma 130 60. There are 4 points in the rectangle. First point is this one, and second point is this one. There are 4 attributes, but it's 2 points. 150 10 is the first point, 130 60 is the second point. G dot draw rectangle pins dot blue comma R. So it will print the blue rectangle. And G dot draw string hello out there, how are you? This is the strings which will be printed here. Arial comma 12, and it is printed inside of this rectangle. So brush comma blacks, blacks means this will be printed with the brush, black brush here. So blush will be used here, that is the brush. Next is the public enum dash styles. We have defined the enum here, which has the dash styles name, and it is the public enum, and the enum has solid dash dot dash dotted dash dotted dotted and the customs styles here. But we have not used that dash styles here. In the upcoming examples, we will use the dash styles. So just that is just for you to understand that we will use the enum to define the dash styles. Next is working with the pen caps. The pen caps is the cap which starts the painting or start the drawings. So the pen cap is in fact used for output of drawings. For example, if you want to draw the rectangle, then the pen caps will be the line which will be drawn here. Similarly, if you want to draw the lines, and the pin caps will be in fact the start and end of the line here. That will be the styles which is defined by the pin cap. So it defines the start and end cap of the pin here. Now this is the example of the pin cap. You see here. Here it is the start point of the line and it is the ending point of the line. So this is drawn here using that certain pin cap, and the pin cap is the diamond anchor here. So diamond anchor is used here. So here we have used protected override void on print function print event argse. So this is the protected functions are the events which is being accessible only in the child class, not in any other class. Override means that this onPrint is a built-in function. It is overridden function. That means we have just redefined its body here. Void means that it is not returning anything. Print event args is the class and E is the object here. So this class takes all data that when the onPrint function will be called, it will provide the data to the display screen. And the data will be different statements of the programs here. First, we have overridden, and that is or base.onPrint E. This statement will override the onPrint function here. Next, we have defined the object of the pin class new pin color.blue, 5. So it defines the object of the pin class, and pin is blue and size of the pin is 5. Pin.startCap is equal to system.drawing.drawing2d.linecap.diamond as in the table, we already specified start cap and end cap. So start and end cap specify the style of the starting and ending cap of the pin here. And that is defined using system.drawing2d library. If you just write this library on the top of your class, where the library section is, then you do not need to write these statements, and you just need to write line cap dot diamond anchor and similarly line cap dot diamond anchor. So diamond anchor specify the start and end of the style of the pin. Next we will draw. So e dot graphics dot draw lines. P is the pin. First point is 20, 20, which is this one, and the last point is 100, 100 x-axis and 100 y-axis, which is this one. Now, if you run these applications, you just click on the exit button. This is the code here. Okay, so first you will transfer this code to the program that we already have developed. Now, here, copy this and paste this code here. Now you can see that the code has been transferred here. Just you need to run the application to see the output. Now click here to run the application. Click, and you can see that this is the output of the last these lines. So this has drawn a line using the blue pin of the size 5. That is the blue pin with the size of 5. And start is the diamond anchor, and also end is the diamond anchor. And the starting point of the drawing starts from 20 axis and 20 y-axis position. Similarly, ending is in fact here on the 100 x-axis and 100 y-axis position. So this is the output. Now we will resume our slides for the next topics. This is another example of the pin class. So here you also need this library that is using system.drawing two-dimensional 2D library. It should be on the top of your class. Where the library section is, you need to write this library. Next is protected override void onPrint functions with the print event argse. So onPrint is the protected function that is derived from the base class, and override means it is redefined here, and overridden. Void means it is not returning anything. OnPrint means onPrint is the function and it defines the event here. Print event argse represents the class which will access all the data which is defined in the body of these functions. And E is the object of this class. First we have defined the graphics G.graphics. G is the object of the graphics class and it is instantiated through the E.graphics class as well. So graphics class assigns is to the G. So G is now representing the graphics class. Next is pin, new pin, and it's the blue pin with the size of 10. Next in the integer y offsets is equal to 100. So it defines the integer values with the offset of 10. Next we have defined the arrays of the objects. Array obj is equal to, this is the array, nm.get values type of line cap. So here we will use the enumerators, and the enumerators is of the line cap. So all line caps will be defined in this enumerator and it is assigned to the object of the array class. Here is the for loop. For loop starts from x is equal to 0 to x is less than the length of the obj. So number of values in this obj defines the ending of the loop here. While this is the incrementation of the loop. Next is line cap temp line cap obj dot get values x axis. So this counter variable is transferred to the get value functions of the line cap objects, and that is assigned to the line cap temp. Next, the pin dot start pin cap is equal to temp. So temp is basically here a variable which define the starting of the pin cap start cap. So here the temp is the particular values which define the start of the start cap of the pin, and also the end cap is the same of that one. So the pin dot end cap is equal to temp as well. Next, g dot drawStrings temp dot strings, it defines the size of the style of the strings, that is Times New Roman with the size of 10, and strings has the solid brush color dot black, that will be the black brush, and 0 comma offset. 0 means that it's starting from the x-axis 0, but y-axis will be provided through the offsets here, while the offset is here 10. So 10 will be pasted here. Then next is g dot draw lines depends comma draw lines will draw the lines, and the pin will be used here is the glue pen here with the size of 10, which is the pin here, and first point second point will be taken through the loop here. First is the 100, which is constants, and y offsets is in fact provided here through the values which will be used here through the y offsets. So y offset is here 10, and so 10 will be pasted here, but 10 will be incremented with the 40 in the next line as well. Next one is width minus 50. So the 50 will be subtracted from the width here, and basically the width is a certain values which is defines the integer values that is coming in the next slides, and y offsets is in fact the values which is started from the 10, but it is now pasted here, and next lines increment the y offsets value with the 40 here. So next will be 50, then next will be 90, and so on. So when this loop will be executed, this will be executed here. Now this is the output here. So flat, square, round, triangle, no anchor, square anchor, round anchor, diamond anchor, arrow anchor, and anchor mask customs. This is the output here. So this is the flat line, this is the square line. You can see that the flat line and square lines are almost same, and round is different. So you can see that's the start and end of the cap of the pin is round here. This is the start and end of the triangle cap. This is no anchor cap, so that is almost similar to the flat and square. Next one is the square anchor. You can see the square is starting and ending of these lines. Round anchor, this is the round. Diamond anchor, which we have used in the previous example. Arrow anchor is already here. You can see this is the arrow anchor. Anchor mask, which is almost equal to the square and flat, and similarly custom is almost still equal like the above two. So this is the output here. To execute these examples, you need to go to the Visual Studio. You just need to use this code here. Just transfer that code to the onPrint function, then it will print the different styles of the pins with their caps values. You need to execute this example through yourself, so that is for your practice purpose. Dear student, this is the end of this class. If you want to read more about these topics, so that is the reference box you have. You should read here. The reference box is the Practical C# Charts and Graphics. That is the second edition, Advanced Charts and Graphics Programming for Real World .NET application. that is written by the Jegs, the PhD professor. And still, if you have any question, you can ask this question through the email. My email is m.kadim@redcast.edu.pk. I will wait for your question and will respond immediately as soon as I get them. Thank you very much.